With my young student the other day, we were doing a lot of high backhand volleys and we had Stingray helping us out, putting that ball into these high areas, trying to work on that volley and chipping it down the line. So I'll do a bit of a compare and contrast here because there's a few little key things that I'd like to point out. But anyone that's watching and liking this, please do click in the link in the description, grab your free personalized swing audit, be more than happy to help you out. Okay, so let's take a look at this. High backhand volley, not an easy shot at all. Obviously, my student, one of the young players, I did another video of him looking at a high backhand volley drop from a slightly different angle. So please go check that out because there's some good coaching points in there that you can maybe look at. But here, this is really interesting. And just as a little side note, he's one of the top little juniors in the country. He's really doing some good stuff there. But this is one of his areas that we need quite a lot of work on. So first thing to look at is his technique. Let's have a look at you can see his racket blade and the strings are looking basically at the side wall and also at that wall. Whereas my racket face, it's open, but it's looking towards the camera. So we have got a little thing where we're trying to work and, he's overcompensating a little bit. He's got too much of an open grip and it's very rare I see this, but he's way too open more than closed. Often I see people close grip and that's a problem within itself. Okay. So let's go. And what I've done is I've tried to make sure it's at the similar contact point. So let me just maybe go. So he's made contact there. I think I made contact. Maybe my frame just needs to be one frame further forward. Let me just get this right. But there, I think that's about right. Cool. Okay. So we're at that same contact point. And you can notice that, okay, I'm using my left leg, my open stance, whereas he's going on his closed leg, his right stance. And that's no surprise as a junior, very, very hard to use your open stance left leg. The strength is just not there yet. So again, take a lot of this with a pinch of salt because he's just not strong enough to do some of this. But in regards to some of the technique and the coaching point, I think there's some key things there. One thing I want to point out that there's a nice strong reach there. My racket's about 45 degrees above my wrist, contacting that ball possibly around my head height, maybe just above my eye level. That's where I want to be taking that ball. As you can see, nice and strong in the trunk area. Shoulders are strong, core strong, really simple in that regard. So as we're going across, one of the key things, you look at this, my elbow, I'll use this tool, it's quite a cool one. The angle of my elbow compared to the angle of his elbow is very different, isn't it? And also where it's at. So just clearing that, you notice my elbow is pointing towards the ground, whereas his elbow is pointing a little bit more towards the sidewall, but it's possibly more the angle of our bicep and our forearm. There's my angle, there's his angle. So yes, I've got no problem with you lifting the racket, but I think he's just gone a little bit too much there. This position here is position number 1. I talk a lot about position number 1. He's possibly released it a bit earlier and we'll see why that is. Because what he does is he's got his swing, there's a lot going on there. So he goes from that position, just looking at my shoot on the left, throws it all the way around, lots of moving parts, and then reaching up there and not quite making contact and following through well enough. Because what happens here, looking at his again on the left, there's that wobbly wrist. There's those knuckles have bent and are almost facing the back wall at that point. And then they have to turn around so quickly at the end to be able to meet the ball. Just having a look at mine on the right there, again, it blows up the more I zoom in, but you get the idea that as I'm going back, you see that nice grip, that finger just up there, making sure that finger's away from it. I get to that position 2, which is relatively horizontal, blade that way, racket strings facing upwards, and the knuckles, forearm, elbow, all looking up at the ceiling. That's an optimal position 2. Just looking at my students there, his position 2, he might have dropped that a bit more, and there's a bit of looseness and wobbling coming in on that arm there. Again, a bit of a strength thing, but something technically that we'd look to improve on. So then as I throw myself up to the ball, as I throw my racket up, just really look closely if you can, or get a sense of my wrist position. There's no bend in the wrist, isn't it? So that's the position 3 where you're coming in and you're having to invert your forearm. Because look at this there, the forearm, the knuckles at the ceiling, knuckles forward, ceiling, forward, ceiling, forward. This final movement is such an important little movement to get right, to be able to get that right, but it comes from these mechanics that are all happening back here. Going back to my student, position 1, not quite there. Position 2, a little bit big and lots of movement. And then position 3, doesn't quite square it up. So then this is what happens now for the next part of the swing, whereas you see there, nice strong arm, nice and solid, racket head, like I said here, really good and solid in the chest, decent base. My base is quite nice and decent. Okay, my student, it looks okay in the snapshot, but you can just get a sense, obviously what I've shown you here before, just not quite working it. And this is where the magic hopefully happens for you, but doesn't quite happen for him. Look at how I'm able to release from there. Watch my racket head now. Watch how it goes. It starts to track downwards, which is very natural, but then I kick it up towards the end. I'm always trying to finish. If I'm throwing that ball to the back of the court with that top of the racket expressing itself up there. You see my arms nice and high. Again, my racket's about 45 degrees above my wrist, really starting to throw it towards the back. And if I just toggle forward, look at where that ball is. Nice and high. You see it drifting along that side wall. Let's just have a look at where it lands. I think it's quite a nice one. Yeah, really deep in the court. I'm not trying to hit it hard because I'm on my open stance, but I'm trying to throw and chip it, push it through there. You can just see the naturalness and how easy that looks to release. A lot of it's done from the 1, 2, 3 part, but also quite a bit's done from my footwork, my positioning, my reach, all of these key things that I'd love all of you to work on. So looking at my student now, let's see what he does. So as he's in there, again, we've talked about these bits. As he swings, let's see what happens. Look at that. Really comes down, really has to force the racket down. Not much strength in that swing there. Again, it'll come in time, but also slashes slightly across his body, not really able to send the ball long. So let's just see where it bounces. Yeah, and just to the front of the service box, tried his best, of course. There's no kind of go at him here for not trying it. It's just that we needed to neaten things up here. But I actually don't think this follow through in the finish can actually happen very well until we get a few of these things sorted. So maybe the setup, the way he's setting up needs to be slightly better. Again, let me zoom in because we're at a similar position. So if we could get him setting up slightly better there, also not overcompensating with how, with how open he is. Maybe reducing his grip, reducing the angle where he's got his racket, his grip sitting in his fingers. That would be really key. And then how we get him from position 1 to position 2 in a neater fashion, and then going up to position 3, like you see mine on the right there. Again, let me just see if I can zoom into this here. I'll use this tool there. Again, quite like this one. It's quite a funky one. That for me is key, as opposed to that wobbly wrist there. So lots of hopefully good little tips that you're all hearing and seeing and resonating with. Again, like I said, he is a youngster. He is building his strength. But if we can get him some fundamental technique right, I think he's only going to take his game to that next level. But thanks for watching so far. Hope you're enjoying these. As always, click on the link in the description. Go check out the squash playbook. It's there as well. Please do share, subscribe, comment to the channel. Would love to help you out as much as possible. And until I see you in the next video, take care, everyone.